In yet another coronavirus bungle by Victorian health authorities, it's emerged that 24 close contacts of a confirmed case were refused testing just days before Victoria's infection rate exploded. When a worker from the Mill Park McDonald's tested positive, the company traced 26 close contacts, telling them to go home and isolate for 2 weeks. But despite federal government health advice, the Victorian health officials saw no need for them to be tested. Let's bring in the panel. Sky News host across Australia, Peter Gleeson from Brisbane, and Radio 2GB broadcaster and Sky News host himself, Chris Smith from Sydney. Gleeson, I'll start with you. Can you believe the amount of bungles we've seen in Victoria? Every day is another one.
It's an example of how not to do it. And when you look at other states, particularly places like South Australia and WA and even Queensland, you'd have to say that the way in which they've been handling it has been much, much better. I can't believe that in the 21st century, in 2020, at the height of a pandemic, we're seeing so many mistakes, so many blues from the Victorian bureaucracy. And I think there's, once we have a look at the post-mortem on what actually happened here, there's going to be a lot of red faces.
Yeah, provided we actually get the detail and it's not buried in some bureaucrat's desk, which I've seen happen too often. Chris, it's not just Victoria. Let's not be just too tough on Victoria, because New South Wales Health, we're told, are refusing to allow camera footage, closed-circuit camera footage from licensed venues to help trace people who might have had contact with a carrier, a COVID-19 carrier. And the reason they're giving is privacy concern. Now, like, we've got the economy on its knees. We've got people in hospitals. Surely privacy is the least of our concerns.
A pandemic is similar to when we have episodes of terrorism, where we accept, as a member of the public, you accept that you lose some of your civil rights because, you know, crime authorities or health authorities in this case have to do things that may take away some of your privacy. Well, be damned with it. We need to use all the weapons we can to do the tracing, particularly in Victoria. But now in New South Wales, I don't know whether there's some lawyer attached to the health department or even the New South Wales police, but this is not on. You know, there are examples in these venues, in these clubs, of people talking to friends, talking to colleagues, being close to other human beings. There's the evidence. You can go and look for that person, and that would be so helpful in these circumstances.
And you would assume if you turn up to any licensed premises, indeed any public building in the country, you know, you're likely to be captured on CCTV.
Yep.
I don't understand the objection. Gleeson, I'm going to go into some other issues, but just a quick one. Everyone I talk to is up in arms about Danny Minogue being let into Queensland under special rules. What do Queenslanders think?
Well, rules for pop stars, rules for protesters. People are outraged because the inconsistency being applied here in Queensland is extraordinary. We had 2 nightclubs fined $6,600 at the weekend, Peter, for allowing people onto the dance floor. We've had 80 people allowed into funerals at the height of the pandemic when the limit was 10. I mean, you know, we've had people going out and vote at the height of a pandemic. So the inconsistency, the messaging here, once again, highlights and exposes just inconsistencies in everything that's going on here.
I want to move to JobKeeper. We just talked then with Tikki Fullerton that there'll be an announcement by Josh Frydenberg. We'll see next week exactly what the time frame is to wind out of these various schemes, whether there'll be a drop-dead date or whether it will be tapered out. The opposition leader, Anthony Albanese, says, though, that they will oppose any sudden halt to the income support. Chris, he said today, we will be constructive, but we'll also hold the government to account. They're moving up the rhetoric and they're playing hardball, I suspect, aren't they?
Yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for Anthony Albanese. He's trying to make himself relevant again, and he hasn't really been relevant all year. See, it's such Mr. Obvious, isn't it? We've already been told that for some industries it will continue. It won't continue at the rate it is at the moment, but it will continue in some industries. Now that we've got this second wave going on in Victoria, it will have to be adjusted and extended. You know, the bridge becomes its own motorway. We all expect that. Josh Frydenberg has kind of intimated that. Now, whether we get told next week, I don't know. But Mr. Obvious, of course it's going to taper back. It'll eventually end. And at the end of the day, you can't continue it surely into 2021.
Yeah, but can I just tell you, that's a political tactic where they say, they know where the government's headed, right?
Yeah.
The government's already said it will be extended, it may well taper, and it'll be for specific industries. So they go out and do a press conference the next day that says it must taper, it must be for specific industries, you know, blah, blah, blah. They repeat what the government's already said, so that when the government does what they said they were going to do, they can go out and say, Labor's been calling for it for months. Labor's been calling for it for months.
As they did with JobKeeper.
This is politics 101. We can all see through it.